I'm looking at an amortization schedule that we created in a previous exercise, and I'd like to now decompose a given payment into the interest component and the amortized principal component. Now, of course, all of that is here for us to see with the amortization schedule, but it may be the case that you need to do this without actually having the amortization schedule in front of you, and it's actually it turns out to be a pretty easy thing to do. So there are a few things you need to keep in mind, though, as you proceed. The first thing that you need to remember is for any given payment, the interest component is just the beginning principal times the periodic interest rate. And so as we move from one payment to the next, the beginning principal changes, and so the interest component is going to change as well. And then the second thing to remember is that since the interest and amortized principal always sum to the payment, then we can always calculate the principal that's amortized as the total payment minus the interest component. And you can see that very clearly in the schedule here. That's these two columns. So the first column is the interest, and the second column is the amortized principal. Those things always sum to the payment. All right, so you can check this quite easily. Now, if our question is how much interest and principal are in payment number, I don't know, 17. If this is the question and we have the amortization schedule, then we can go straight to payment 17 and say, here is the interest amount and here is the principal amount, and we're done. Okay? So that would get us the answer. But what if we don't have the amortization schedule? If we don't have the amortization schedule, we can still get to the answer pretty quickly by doing the following. So, of course, you got to find the payment first. So that would be step one. The second step would be to find the payoff after the prior payment. And then third, you recognize that the payoff after the prior payment is the same thing as the beginning principal balance for the current payment. And so you'll need to proceed with the red steps above. From there. And so you've got this one and this one, and you would be done. So let's take an example here. So again, let's think about payment number 17. So here's the payment that you're trying to determine the breakdown between interest and principal. So step one here is find the payment. If you go back to a previous video that I did where we calculated a payoff, got all the keystrokes right there. Okay, so you would do that. Second step, so that's going to get you to this number right here, right? You find the payment. Second step, you want to find the payoff after the prior payment. And so again, go back to that video, and you can see exactly the keystrokes in the calculator that got you to this number right here, right? Because we actually were finding the payoff in that other video of payment number 16. So that gets you that number. And then we recognize that number, the payoff after payment 16, is the same thing as the beginning balance in payment 17. And then we're going to proceed with the red steps above. And so for red step number 1, we're going to take the beginning principal of 15 to 37.43, and we're going to multiply that by the periodic interest rate. So what's the periodic interest rate? It's 6% divided by 12, or 0.5%. So we're going to multiply that by 0.005, and that will get us to 76.19, which is that number right there. And then finally, we're going to move to step 2 in the red, which is take the payment, 386.66, subtract 76.19, and that gets us the principal.